Yeah.
And it's you on
This You don't want to know about my day, okay? Check. Test. There we go. It's really John Corabi. That's his evil influence. I don't know. I like to say the word, but I'm not sure if I put it on my guitar. Can we just, Andrew, move the amp so it's not in my head? In my head. Just angle it away from me. There's a song that I'm going to give out some tabs. He's just making some copies for you. As you know, we're late. So, you know, appreciate you guys' patience and all. I got to see a lot of Sydney. I seriously left the hotel at 11 o'clock, okay? And here I am at 1:15, so you can imagine how happy I am. But you're going to have the Olympics here, so that's what I say. Blank the Olympics, yes. But we just got a little confused with which way we're going, and the cab driver saw money and took it, and somehow we eventually got here. I don't know how you guys get around, though. I really don't know. I don't understand. I thought Los Angeles was tough, and New York, which is where I was born and raised. And looks very, very confusing to me here. More like London, kind of, you know what I mean? Just a lot of, like, streets going around and around and everything. Is there anybody missing in the front row, or are they just afraid? It's too loud or something? Okay. Okay. Well, if you want to move forward. So is actually everybody here? You sure? You sure they're not running around? No? So everybody plays here, or tries to play? No? You just want to, like, watch up close, right? Okay, that's cool. Some of you guys play, right? All right, will anyone understand tablature at all? Yeah, you play. Let me see if I can get a balance here. First we'll tune. Oh, I forgot, that's right. We flew and I detuned the guitar, which is a good thing to do, especially when they go, and that bloody American band, they're throwing the guitars around. You know, Ansett was very angry with us for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it was because Eric had 30 drums, you know, a lot of luggage. can hear both? Okay. Okay. As you know, it's a heart of chrome, and that's what the... Does anybody have the tab yet? That's not quite ready yet. You're playing with it now? Okay. I actually, when it comes to tablature and reading and writing, and I don't want to discourage anybody from learning how to read or using tablature or anything. But I've been fortunate that I've really learned from I have a good ear, and I've always kind of self-taught. Though, at least starting off, there was a period of time when I had lessons from the local, music shop kind of thing in Brooklyn, and I have, of course, my brother Bob to help me. And then later on, I started to take some lessons from a guy who was a jazz teacher who taught lots of different styles of music, actually. And he really opened my head to a lot of different things, So again, I don't think it's a bad thing. Just keep in mind, you got to play from the heart and soul and your mind and all, and it's not all just about notes off of paper or scales. People get caught up in all that, just reading the book and doing it that way. Okay. So basically, when you get the tablature, it's kind of ironic how I wound up with that, finding it in an Italian magazine. So there'll be some Italian in it. And actually, someone pointed out to me at the clinic in Melbourne that there's actually a part of it that's not right. Just the way they thought I was tapping, and I'm actually bending and doing a different little kind of thing. But it's no big deal. But it's a nice souvenir for you guys to have anyway. May as well grab it. But it's from. They did the Heart of Chrome solo, and they show how one part there's harmony in it. So we'll get that going in a second. So you guys coming tonight? You got some people coming tonight? Okay. That's cool. So you kind of understand what's been happening. I'm just trying to really keep busy with a lot of different things, which is basically I've been fortunate to be able to still. It was never my intention not to work with Eric. A lot of people thought obviously Eric and I would do a band together right away, and Eric really wanted to be free. Being in a band and my band Union, it's a big commitment, and there's a lot to deal with, But Union has a live record coming out early next year, and we're going to go in the studio sometime when that comes out, probably February, March, to record, so we can have a new studio album come out. I guess by the middle of next year would be realistic to say. Okay, and that one, the live record will be out also on Shock. And you want to tell me something? I have another page of it. How does? You can give Andrew that. Of course, the photocopier ate one of my pages. No, this is an envelope. So I, of course, have a spare, because I'm well prepared. I didn't have a map of Sydney, though. I do have a picture of my dog with me, who is my little friend Joe. It's kind of hard to make out there, because he's a little fluffy thing, but I figured I'd share that with you. He's saying, "Hello, Sydney. Why did you get lost today?" Okay. Anyway. Okay, so Union, having your own band is a very, very, it's complicated, okay, and it was almost easier being a part of KISS, especially when it's really, everyone that knows enough about KISS realizes, well, Gene and Paul are really, they started the band and it's their band, and that's true. And every band usually has a couple of key people that are going to make decisions and make the direction of the band. Although you want everyone to contribute, and the more that can happen, the better. But here obviously with Union, it was going to be me and John being the kind of guy to put, a sticker like this on the guitar, I don't let him do a lot of the business, okay, if you know what I mean, because he'd probably go off on people a little bit too much, so I've learned to be tactful through the years. So it's been a lot of work for me, but, I have a couple of other very talented players in the band. And I'm really proud of the work I've done, and never try to judge what I've done just from sales. Although maybe you want to do that. I don't even think with the distribution we have here, it's a fair thing. You don't necessarily to know how well you do if you had a major label pushing it. But rock and roll is kind of almost the underground music right now, if you know what I mean, compared to what it was. It's kind of unfortunate, but whatever. So the live record I'm really proud of because we're going to have I Walk Alone on it and Jungle. And you'll hear those things tonight too. We made, obviously Eric played that on the record, but we asked Carl, the other guy, to learn them. And we didn't do any union stuff because we really didn't get a chance to learn it. We had to rehearse 2 days and just learning some of the ESP stuff, which is just a project name for the band to jam together on stuff from the 70s that we liked. You know, Hendrix, Deep Purple, Aerosmith, different people like that. So I'm gonna be busy doing everything I can. And as you know, I was able to get a co-write on the Kiss album, which is cool, even though there's a whole murky issue with that. But that's a whole nother story. So I'm still on good terms with those guys, which is great. And then obviously, if you didn't know already, I am going to do a solo album. I don't know when that would come out, but it will feature more some of the things that don't fit in a band setting like Union. Okay, and I will sing something on it or two, maybe a few things. I already wrote something about called "Dogs of Mars" and kind of about where my life is right now. You know, living with my dog. You know, with the dogs. Could be worse. You know, could be driving around Sydney for 2.5 hours. You know, but anyway. So I'm looking forward to doing that, although, like I said, I've only cut about 3 things for that, and I'm excited about how I can, you know, spread myself out on that. Because with Union, you know, obviously anything we do, you know, John's vibe's very important, although I think we really fit together well. But he's got a real bluesy voice, and obviously I'm not going to do every track featured around lead guitar work and everything. So now, for the players out there, I mean, to me, the goal of a guitarist anyway is to make the song better, and to, you know, when you get that solo spot, ironically enough, a lot of the music that sells heaps right now, they don't even have a goddamn guitar solo in it, you know? Or maybe it's just the theme playing the guitar, you know? I mean, the guitar just playing the vocal theme or something, you know? But whatever, I think there aren't any rules, really. There seems to be so many combinations of styles of music within bands. And the whole scene is so diverse, you know, between all the different kinds of, even just within metal or hard rock, everything that there is. And it was hard for Union just to get, like, okay, are they 80s influenced or 90s, or are they trying to be new? I mean, we just were doing what we liked, and it was very difficult for people to figure it out. And I don't really care. I just want to do, I think if you start guessing the market and trying to, you know, create with a commercial sense in your mind of what you want to do, ultimately it's going to smell of that, and I don't think it's going to be real. So, you know, for me, whatever I'm doing is what I really dig right now. And if it's not exactly what you expect, well, I can never be inside anyone else's head to know what are they expecting, or even in a country like Japan where maybe they're looking for Whitesnake. Well, I don't want to be Whitesnake, okay? I want to be, you know, whatever Union combination of that band is. So it's kind of difficult, but that's the business. You know, the music business is very, very complex. Kind of like driving around Sydney. You never know where you'll turn, what will happen. So while we're waiting for the tablature, I'll show you a little bit. Did it eat that one too?
No, Andrew said to go to run across the road, so walk back there.
Oh, okay. There's one open on a Sunday? You people working on Sunday then, huh? That's good. Let me talk a little bit about the pedals. People always seem to ask me, what do you use? Okay, and the pedals I have going on, like here right now, are very similar to what I used on Revenge, which was obviously a record where I think I got a chance to really play my little heart out. And distortion pedals are good. I'm a big fan of the Marshall stuff, as you know. For years, always been very, very cool with the fact that they keep developing new products, like any company will, okay, but they keep improving upon and trying to really give you what you want. And for me, the 900 series just became like really the perfect blend for me, where I could play, you know, so, you know, the rhythm work sounds cool, and I got a nice chunky tone without having to modify the amp. And them making the 900 series, I know, was a result of a lot of people modifying some of the 800 series, the model that came before, okay? I know they're expensive, and some of their actually solid state line actually sounds quite good because they have a really good research development department. And I've been there in England and actually got the chance to visit the factory, and you know, it's really a trip. He's a trip, Jim Marshall, actually himself. So can't speak enough about, you know, they're great amps. Okay. But what I didn't want, some of the designer amps or some of the other fancier amps would have like a lot of channel switching, and even though some of the Marshalls are channel switching, I prefer the old-fashioned way, which is more like stomp on a pedal. Okay. So I use I have quite a few different distortion pedals. There's 2 pages, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. He's not going to take his hand off that camera right now. So the Boss. For me, the Boss, like Super Overdrive SD1s, those are great. Those are they're kind of like a tube screamer, if you're familiar with the Ibanez tube screamer, which is pretty popular. On Revenge and Carnival of Souls, I pulled out a lot of really, very, does everybody just want to read that right now or something? Okay. Just hang on to it. I'll explain that in a second, okay, so you don't have to look at it now. The other pedals, just a lot of really vintage electro harmonics and MXR stuff. You know, all the stuff you could maybe find in a pawn shop or whatever, but or the stores that carry the vintage gear. But you know, once you get into ugly distortion, there's not much difference between one to the other. It's just, you know, if you have the opportunity, if you got 5 distortion pedals that you can use all 5 of them across, you know, some of the album, then that makes for more fun. I had quite a few really weird pedals on Revenge. I think you can kind of hear it like it spit. The guitar just sounded really sick, and that's a very, very weird looking pedal, actually, which I would never take on tour or even bring to a clinic because, you know, half of the time it doesn't work, okay? But when it's working, you know, and you got that moment in the studio, okay, great, that sounds sick, let's record, you know, that kind of thing. So don't be afraid to experiment with the pedals. But let me just show you, I mean, basically what I'll try to do, and I don't have this thing set very extreme, though sometimes I may want to, okay, for like Unholy where I really want to get out there, you know, but here's the regular rhythm sound. So with it, so you hear, you know, it gets nice and uglier for like, as opposed to, this gives you a little more dirt and everything. I prefer it more really for leads, or just give me more sustain. So, distortion pedals are good, and then this way it's kind of like channel switching. If you can set it up with your amp that way, do it that way. Wah-wah pedals, I've had quite a few through the years, and obviously the Crybabies are really good. I don't know what they stock here or whatever, but they really do a lot. This is actually like a kind of old funky one, but it's very light. You know, since I'm traveling with this stuff, some wah-wah pedals, it's like you're traveling like a brick in your suitcase. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So this one happened to have like a lighter steel to it, but it's got a good sound. You know, the sound of the wah is always in the potentiometer, the thing that you're moving. What you're really doing is like that, you know, back and forth. But the wah-wah does a lot better, bigger sweep to it, of course. So. So as you can tell, I mean, on Revenge I use it a lot, and I you know, I think wah-wah pedals, you can get a lot more expression out of the guitar, and obviously they always seem to boost the guitar a little bit more, take it over the top, which is what you're trying to do, especially in a band like Kiss, or even Union, where the guitars are slamming and everything's like when I solo, I want to, you know, jump above all of it, right? So. It's like Solo and Old Man Wine is the first song. So, you know, sometimes I'll just keep the wah-wah, by the way, I won't even move it, I'll keep it in one area, because then that's kind of like setting a tone for you, almost like an EQ. So, think Michael Schenker from years ago, he used to do that a lot as well, where he'd have his wah-wah set a certain way, you know, so you get that tone. So that's another good use of the wah-wah if you didn't know that already. And then of course just your general, you know, you can actually create a movement and a rhythm in them. So have fun with those that way. I recommend the wah-wah pedal to everybody. Okay. Don't leave home without one. Okay. Another useful pedal, chorus pedals. Okay. This one's just an old Ibanez one, not a really vintage one, but just an older Ibanez one that I kind of like the sound of. That's from around again on the Union record. You guys, a lot of you guys have the Union album, right? So, okay, cool. So you see, as compared to, you know, that's, hold on. That it doesn't work, but what I'll do sometimes is double guitar. One will have the chorus and the other one won't. Okay, because if you have the two choruses, sometimes it just gets too washy, you know. So, and you can pull around the speed on those. These I usually try to set, like this one's set kind of like at a nice, just subtle kind of. And then here's would be like a faster kind of. Kind of like a sound garden thing, I know, yeah. Okay, but you know, you get what I mean. So it's, you gotta be careful with the faster speeds. You gotta be careful because then the tuning thing gets really crazy, and you'll look at your bandmates like, all right, who's out of tune and all that. It's really the pedal. I like the fullness it gives, and I try not to use it too much. But certain songs, it's just like without it, you feel really naked. And especially if you're jamming within a trio, these pedals are real important. Because if you just have a bass player and a drummer, you know, with the chorus pedal, you're going to sound a lot bigger, you know. So I try to use it sparingly when within Union, though, because you know it's John, so I just use it for parts. John plays real good rhythm guitar, by the way, and of course with ESP, Carl's a great guitar player as well as a great bass player, so he's playing dual guitar with me. Sometimes John's playing guitar, but even like let's say on Jungle when I'm playing that. On the record, I actually used a Phase 90, one of those MXR pedals, you know. But you know, live I can get away with using a chorus instead of a phase. Okay, they're similar as long as it, you know, it's putting some movement to the notes. So let's say this riff. In fact, on the record, it was either the beginning was a phase. Okay. Phase 90 or something like that, and then the riff that I would do along with the bass in Jungle was probably a flanger, but still this chorus pedal is going to give a vibe to it. That probably one side had a chorus on it or a phase and the other one didn't. So just to get an idea how you can build your tracks. Any of you have like multi-track, you know, some sort of studio where you overdub things? No? Thinking about it? Well, when you do, when you learn that kind of thing, that's when it's a lot of fun to experiment, you know, and because doubling guitars can be tricky. You want to change the tone each time you do it, and it's nice that you can use different kinds of pedals as well, but don't go over the top with each track having too much effect on it. Okay. And then just the last one I have here, the only difference that my pedal board at home that I use a lot, I have a different kind of delay, an analog delay. This is a digital delay, which is, you know, fine. It's just analog's a little warmer to me. Did you hear that? So you have a lot of fun with those, you know. There was one time I was doing some things where I had to set a little more radical, so I could feedback up, which is good. You can keep it going, so. These aren't too exact, okay? You know, it's good when you have the rack. I try not to use too much of it, but it's just nice to have, especially when you're playing, you know, if you're alone in your bedroom, it makes you feel like you're in an arena, right? And the other kind of delay, like I said, the one in my actual pedal board is just a little more subtle, because I'd rather have the sound guy add a little more of that kind of effect. So tonight I don't even know if I'm going to use one at all. It's not always that necessary, because we're doing a more bluesy kind of thing. But this is nice, and in certain solos, it's really nice to have, you know, because you can really stretch out. Okay? Let me set it back to normal. Hold on. Actually, the harder chrome thing that I want to look at, that's kind of wet. And when I use the word wet, I mean it's got a lot of delay on it, or reverb, you know, makes the sound bigger. Okay, so let's take a look at the sheet. There's 2 pages. Yeah, I actually need a copy myself. Yeah, okay, sure. This lovely people from Brisbane. I am a very lucky man. People travel to see me. Boy, I was almost as long a trip today getting here. I could have gone to Brisbane, I think. All right, so I won't spend a lot of time on this because I know it's kind of Greek to some of you people, right? You know, looking at notes on paper are hard for me anyway. But what it's showing on the first of all, you notice that there's 2 music staffs, okay, on the first page. The one with the picture of Revenge, okay? And the first set's guitar 1, and then beneath it's guitar 2, okay? He was just showing that the guy recognized that I actually doubled myself, okay, which is true, okay? At one point I go off into a slight harmony thing, but Bob Ezrin would do that, and that's another technique that's, I think, very valuable for everybody, which is if you can double yourself like Randy Rhoads used to do on the Ozzy stuff, you know, you get a bigger sound. You don't always need to do it, but it will give a certain thing, and it's not that easy to do, actually, because phrasing on guitar can be very tricky. As you know, the guitar is not the easiest instrument to get a handle on, because you're in such close touch with the strings, and every little nuance of your finger moving and how you hold your pick and everything just creates a different sound. So you can play the same riff as me on my gear, on my guitar, and you're going to sound different because your fingers are shaped different and your hand's different. So the guitar is a very, I think it's a really personal kind of sounding instrument that's very, which makes it kind of special as compared to keyboards where you just kind of like everyone banging on it, it's going to kind of get the same sound, you know. I'm not saying that to put down keyboards, okay? I'm just saying the guitar is very, very, everyone's going to have their own style and technique on it because of just the kind of instrument it is. You know, think about it. You're pushing down strings over frets, and there's a pickup, and where's your hand, and what angle you're hitting the pick at. There's just so many things involved with that. But doubling is one of the techniques that you get to that point. It gives a cool effect. So quite a few of the solos on Revenge were doubled. Not all of them, but just a few of them. I actually just went for it again and get a nice effect. Instead of putting it through a delay pedal, or you know, they make these pedals that will actually double what you did. If you can physically do it, you'll get even a better sound than that. All right, so it starts off, it shows about these artificial harmonics, which are I'll get into. So I'll kind of do the first page. The only thing I got to do is tune down the guitar And here's another trick that in the studio when we did Heart of Chrome, my main rhythm guitar was tuned to regular. Kiss usually tunes down a half flat, okay, a half step rather, to E flat, which is kind of, you just get it's a little easy for the vocalist, a little darker sound. There are bands who tune down to like B or something, like Korn, I don't know, they got a low, a seventh string and stuff like that, you know. You get a very heavy sound from that. But Hendrix used to do E flat a lot too, so I'm just letting you know that if you're going to play along with Revenge, on occasion you'll be tuned your guitar to A440, meaning regular tuning, concert pitch, and then sometimes the whole guitar is going to be down a half step, and sometimes even it will have to be down a whole step. All the Motley Crue stuff, that band always plays in D, meaning their low E is B, okay, no matter what. And then if they're going to drop D, if you're, you know, any of you guitarists have heard of drop D tuning, right? So then they're playing a C, okay, on the bottom. So it gets pretty gnarly, you know. But that's part of the whole sound, you know, that's what they're going for, okay? So actually on this one, I cheated by, and you can do that in the studio. So like I was saying, rhythm-wise, all the chords, you know, to a regular E, you know, when there's E. You see what I mean? I'm playing just a regular tuning and everything. But for the solo, since the cool thing about Heart of Chrome, excuse me, is that it goes through a lot of different changes. Okay, it's got a lot of different parts in the song. Okay, and all of a sudden the solo section modulates to a new key altogether. It goes into D. I mean, it goes. You know, it starts off with that riff in E, which is that. And then all of a sudden it goes into. You know, the marching men kind of thing. Okay, marching metal men. Okay. And Ezra, who's also a writer on that song, Bob Ezra, I know, I'm not sure who came up with it. It was either him, Paul, or Vinny. Actually, I'll give him credit. He was involved in the writing on that one. It's a smart place to go, you know, that the solo is suddenly in another key section, and that leads back into that weird kind of Beatle-y Alice Cooper type thing, you know. Back in the E regular tuning. So for the solo, because it goes to D, I decided, okay, this is cool. Let me drop the low string, because you can get away with that in the studio. You're overdubbing, and you know you have total control over what you want to do on each track. Okay. So again, since I'll play it. Hold on. Let me get to the solo. All of that was done regular pitch, okay? Just riff, you know, using the low E. But then in the solo, which is what's on the paper you got, okay? So let me rewind a little bit to that, and I'll show you what I mean. And I'll just stop it after the first page.
Get another page.
do. Okay, originally I was given, like, the track you're hearing is actually like the basic tracks that I was given to go work on some solos at home. Okay, a little less pressure, you know, than being in the studio at 200 an hour, you know what I mean? With everybody staring at you, what are you going to come up with, right? So it's easy for me to take the, you know, tape like this and then try different solos and then kind of come up with something I like and then say, this is what I hear, and that's what I did. And on quite a few of the songs, that's exactly what we went with, or at least a good starting point of where we were at, which is nice, you know. So I immediately, my instinct said on this one, okay, with the marching men part, you know. Just to keep it simple. It's a new section, so let's just. So I'm just kind of analyzing my whole thought process for my solo. Okay, just so you know where I'm going here. So I decided to just use like octave notes, except put in that evil note, which is, and then by pulling off, getting the artificial harmonic, which is. It's always hit and miss for the guitarists out there. The angle of the pick and everything, how you get those pings and things. It's freak of nature, and there's a certain angle that will always do it, and certain guitars that will do it better than other guitars. But it's even hard for me and other players. So don't be frustrated if you can't get that going. But. I'm doing pretty good today. I'm angry enough about the drive, I think, you know. And obviously, when you get it, it's a very, can't lose that. It's a very, it has its own sound, you know, and it sounds a little different every time because you're creating artificial harmonics. That's why I think you call it that, art harm, yeah. And it's one of those unique things about guitar playing, especially distortion rock guitar playing, that's only jazz players don't do it, okay? You know, they might go, it won't sound like that anyway. They might do a few of these once in a while. But they're not going to start wailing into the string to get these notes unless they're doing these kind of things. How do you do that? There's different ways you can get it from. I don't do that work very well. But again, this is digging into the string and getting a whole, instead of hitting the note like, I could have easily done it like that too, but instead I went for it, more distortion, the wah-wah, a little delay, you know. And then, remember I was telling you I detuned the low string, and that was to get this. And I gave it some character by stepping on the wah-wah and making it kind of like, you know, open up and talk a little bit, okay? So, again, in the studio you can cheat, you can detune in one little section, one note, you can play another guitar, it doesn't really matter, right? That's the luxury of being in the studio. And when you're making a big record, obviously, sometimes you'll go for any trick you can think of if it's going to help the song, okay? So that basically covered that first page. You notice it says artificial harmonic and then wah-wah on top, okay? That was that low D with the wah-wah thing. Now on the second page, the one without the picture, right, okay. Then it gets into some of the scale work that I did. And for the players out there, one very common rock scale is pentatonic, okay, which comes from, I think the Greek word penta, and it's 5, means 5, right, and it's basically only 5 notes in the scale. Excuse me. So, 5 notes in this case being, this is like a minor one, you know. And there's obviously lots of ways to play that, you know, and that's the beauty of the guitar, and, you know, getting all the... I was using these hammer-ons like that. But it was, and again, now I'm detuned, so that's kind of part of where this all came from. I was looking at the guitar and going, okay, well, I like that. Okay, let me keep going across the strings like that. Now let's make it musical. So. That's that phrase that goes across the top there. Great melodies are going on. And Hendrix never considered himself a great singer. He still came up with cool melodies. You know, even if it's just Foxy, Lady, you know, whatever it is, okay, or Purple Haze, Oh in My Brain. It just, you know, he's creating a melody, and it certainly fits around the chord changes that he's created, okay? Beatles being very, very talented as to a melody on top of chords. And I think most of the really great solos that and guitar players that I admire, their solos just basically were like a whole nother melody, a whole section of the song that was like another melody to grab onto, you know. There's obviously guys who just have a lot of technique and they're going to hit you with a billion notes, and that's, if you like that, and I know some people get off on that, that's fine, whatever turns you on, you know. For me, it's a melody, and I want to have a lot of melody in my solos, and when I start looking at it, I go, well, how did I come up with that, and why does it work? I have this theory of that I'm kind of like just really telling my own little story without words, you know, just with the notes and the positions and the phrasing of my solo. Within the solo is all that's going on, okay? And then when I look at other people's really cool solos, my theory kind of works. So that's what I'm saying, that I'm trying to create phrases that build upon each other, and instead of just saying, oh, at the end I change it up a little bit. Well, obviously, you know, when you're having a conversation with someone, or if someone asks you a question, the other half, the answer is not going to be the same as the question. Otherwise, you're definitely not going to be going anywhere at all, okay? And I'm trying to, you know, move the solo along that I reach some sort of, possibly a high note that's going to be very climatic. Nothing wrong with that. And you wanna really kind of, it's kind of like before you're saying goodbye and getting back into the rest of the song, you wanna make maybe a really bold kind of statement. So a lot of solos, you'll notice, will sometimes end, you know, real exciting. It won't be, you know, just a low note for the ending. So the last measure shows that, although for people out there who really know tablature, they're kind of showing it as tapping, and it's not really tapping. I did it a little differently. So let me show you what I did. So first I have these two phrases, which is the top. And that last riff is on the bottom page, okay? And just, let me rewind just a second, excuse me. The second guitar, that's why the guy had guitar 1 and guitar 2. On the second measure, it kind of went off into harmony. So where one guitar went, it started over there, you know, like that. The other guitar started, kind of just did those fifths like that. And if you listen to the record, I don't actually have the, you know, the actual track with me. I just have the backing track, okay? You'll hear that. Just for that one little section in the second measure on that page, all of a sudden the second guitar starts off, you know, but it's just really to create for that one little part of the song, okay, the solo. Kind of no different than, you know, when me and Paul are doing, let's say, all of a sudden you go into harmony like that. That's all. You know, you're playing the same phrase. That kind of thing, okay? All right, so then I have that, and then the very ending of it is, I go, so I'm sliding all the way up. I like that. I'm not sure if he shows that on this, but I like that kind of like slide into a note kind of sound, because it just keeps you wondering, you know, where's it going, right? So. Now I hit that high note to go up into, because the next section's coming up, okay? So it's real easy to jam in a certain scale when the music's staying, you know, right around that home bass of D right now, but then all of a sudden what happens when all of a sudden it's going to change into A, so you have to reflect that. So I just decided to get that high note, like I was telling you. I like to sometimes do a real exciting note, and that's what it was. All right, so again, just to recap it, I start off with wah wah, all right, and then now I'll play it with some gusto. Okay, hold on. Up for that part because it's an E, you see. But I had a nice trick on that part too. And there was just a couple other riffs that I added in there, which I actually did a different time, believe it or not. We weren't sure what we were going to do with that section, how much vocals it was going to have, and we went back in the studio and I overdubbed a few more, just little guitar parts here and there. That's the cool thing about Revenge, is that we never, every song was just looked at, and we really wanted to make it as, you know, interesting as possible. And if there was a spot where it just kind of like, hey, I can, you know, someone would say, I could jump in there and add some riffs, you know, we went for it. We weren't too shy that way. So all of a sudden there's that marching, you know, again, the marching men part kind of thing, and all of a sudden there's a kick drum, right? So I hit that low note. Now that low note kind of related to the and that other low D note, but now I'm in E. Okay, so. Together the body solo with this little part with some couple of choice riffs here before the vocals started in again. That's not on the sheets that I gave you, but you get the idea, okay? I don't know how to write tablature, so I'll let some Italian guy do it for me, I guess. All right, so anybody got any questions about Heart of Chrome solo or anything that I was just explaining? All right, don't all talk at once now. Okay, all right. So I hope you got a little bit of sense there of the solo and how all that came together, okay? So now I wanted to show you, anybody here, I know one person I know that writes, it's involved with a band that writes songs. Anybody else writing songs at all? Yet? Got that point? Yeah? Okay. Not an easy task, okay? Songwriting is very, very difficult. Although there's no rules, and everyone should, you know, kind of go for it. And some songs take forever, and some are very simple. Can be written in a half hour, and then you got a great catchy thing, or whatever it is. Yeah?
Right, songs like.
Well, I think there's a few hard parts. First of all, there's the whole process of whether or not something's going to come to you that's worth, like, sharing with other people, because that's what it's really about, all right? Ultimately, it becomes product when you know, press it and sell it, okay? But originally, it's just this creation of, of art, of a type of art, okay? Music is art. So I'm very, very pleased, and I can't tell you, you know, I mean, different things in my life get me very happy, of course, but when I create a great melody or a riff that other people go, oh, that's cool, oh, I dig that, oh, that's great, that's awesome. You know, I'm like so flattered by that, you know, and I don't know where it comes from. I know people like Stevie Wonder and these genius people go like, oh, it's from God and all that. I guess so. I mean, I don't know. It's floating around out there, and how do you telegraph it into your brain, and all of a sudden it's in your fingers, and there you go, you know. And even if it's just simple stuff like a party song like Rock and Roll All Night, hey, that's moved a lot of people. So that was like really like, you know, Gene and Paul had some moments there, or whatever it was, you know. Let's write a song about, you know, and lots of songs like even like that, from what I understand, evolved from another idea where one had a concept of this, and then it turned into, and then all of a sudden it happens, okay. And then there's something like Yesterday by Paul McCartney, who claims, you know, he dreamt it was called Scrambled Eggs, and then he finally got a little better lyric for it, you know, obviously. So there's no one way. Lately I've been being really creative, walking my dog in the morning, oddly enough. He gets me up pretty early sometimes, which is good. I get a lot done in the day that way, and all of a sudden I hear a little melody or something, and the next thing I know, my head's going, oh, God, I like that, okay, cool. Yeah, and then as soon as I get in the house, I got my little tape recorder all ready, always sitting there with tape in it, and I'm like, got a guitar there, and I play it. It's good to get away from I mean, a lot of riffs you'll write on a guitar, obviously, or chord changes, but sometimes you should be able to hear these things away from the guitar. And sometimes that's what's really weird, is when you do get to the guitar with it, it's kind of strange. But I'd say the majority of my stuff I'm actually doing on the instrument, but I've come up with some really cool stuff away from it, so think about that too. And that's why you want to, if you're serious about music, you want to not only listen to, if you love guitar, don't only listen to guitar players, you should be listening to piano players and sax players and different instruments, because they have a different way of phrasing just by the nature of the instrument that they play. And all that's very, it's all music, and if they're good, you're going to learn something from them. So, the song that I wanted to kind of just explain a little bit about, which I think would be interesting as opposed to, you know, just teaching scales or technique, is about writing songs, okay? And the song I Walk Alone, which from Carnival of Souls, everyone's kind of familiar with that one, I hope, right? Okay, good. Obviously, I mean, I didn't bring up that one because I sang it, even though, and I don't consider myself a great singer by any means, but it was just my opportunity to actually sing a song. Lyrically, it made sense, what was going on in my life and everything, and it was, you know, I was just really proud of all of that happening, but musically, the thing was a whole opus that took me forever to get together. And it was one of the first things that, when Gene and I and Eric would jam occasionally some material, way back in that was like in the beginning of '94 actually. One of the ideas I had was, let me show you the original way I had it. I mentioned, of course, you know, Jimi Hendrix being an influence, and Eric Clapton being a big influence. And absolutely, Jimmy Page was a big influence. Jeff Beck, another one. And as much as you know I respect Ace, he wasn't an influence for me because he was like one of my peers, and I think he was influenced by Jimmy Page and Hendrix a lot, even though everyone has their own way of playing, you know. And Gene and Paul obviously were into a lot of the same kind of music I was. Like you'll hear some influences on the ESP album that are, because there's 70s tracks, okay, that sound like a little like, oh, you know, that Humble Pie song, parts of that could be Watching You or She or stuff like that, you know what I mean, because they were hip to those kind of bands as well. So this was a tuning which is kind of weird. It's a drop D tuning, and the high E is dropped down also, and then the B string is tuned down to an A. Now remember, I'm giving you the actual note where I half step down as well. So instead of saying C sharp and flats and sharps, I'm just giving you the regular notes, you know, which kind of makes an interesting, I don't know, kind of has an interesting sound to it. And Jimmy Page used to do there's something on the first or second Led Zeppelin, I think the first and the second Led Zeppelin album that had this tuning. Led Zeppelin will be around forever, and some of those other bands you won't hear of in 5 years from now. Not that some of them didn't do some great stuff, don't get me wrong. I really like some of the Soundgarden, Pearl Jam's got some cool stuff. Nirvana absolutely had some very catchy songs, you know, with a fresh approach. But I'm just saying in general, if that sounds really new to you, well, it isn't, okay? And that's okay, though, because music will always go in cycles. You notice now, Vintage Kiss is maybe even stronger than ever. Well, it's 20 years, and that makes sense. I'm waiting for the 80s to come back, obviously. Slowly but surely, you know. But either way, I think it will always be in a new way, although maybe based upon that. Like, who knows, there could be some glam rock Poison-looking band that's going to sell 10 million records next year, but there'll probably be a little twist to it anyway, you know. It's very hard predicting all that, you know, really hard. But there's only so many notes, there's only so many ways of playing it, and the music, good music's good music no matter how you put it together. And the thing that I brought to Gene originally, which Ezrin heard also, because Ezrin was kind of going to be involved in Carnival of Souls, but it didn't happen. It was just a theme that went like this. Actually, some of that Gene helped me with, but the original of that was an idea that I had. So everybody was looking at that and they go, oh, it's kind of Hendrixy, you know, old vintage. You know, we're trying to get into the more 70s kind of stuff. So actually 60s really, but and then all of a sudden Gene came up with the idea of the. You see how easy that is in this tuning. If anyone tried to figure it out without knowing the tuning, you wouldn't get it, okay, so. See how easy that is, right? As soon as you started doing that on this acoustic, I had a 12-string acoustic there that we were fooling around with. I was like, that's cool. We knew we were onto something. Because originally the verses were only going to be like, just kind of like droning a D, you know? So, we used to call it Waterfall, believe it or not, because we felt it sounded a little like a Hendrix song called Waterfall. You know, you always have like a reference title sometimes to something if you don't have a word that means something for it. So, and we actually went in the studio with Ezrin one day. Everyone was digging it, and we figured we'd hash it out and see what we could come up with. And we had this whole section that was like, there was a whole bridge that went like this. But I just was always missing something, and we still didn't have a chorus that sang over what we were calling the chorus. No one could come up with, or at least since me and Gene were really the writers of it, could come up with, well, what is the chorus? You know, every song's got to have something, you know. So let me change that tapes, and I'll show you how all of a sudden we had a chorus for I Walk Alone. It always had the title I Walk Alone. It had a lot of the sections that you're familiar with. So I was working on, the reason why I wound up with so many co-writes on Carnival of Souls is because they were open to hear whatever I had, but I just wouldn't put down a guitar that period of time. I don't know, it was like a year that every day I was writing music and coming up with riffs and trying to present it to them. So I had an idea for a song, and all of a sudden, when you hear the verse, I'm sorry, Gene goes, that's the chorus to I Walk Alone. So you see what I mean? How sometimes piecing together a song, you never know where it should come from, but I'll play a little bit of it. It's rewinding. So how many of you knew about the tuning? That had that odd tuning to it? Anybody? No, not really. By the way, the interesting sound on I Walk Alone of the harmonics you put them together, and they just give a weird sound because of just the physical nature of what a backwards tack is. You know, and it's a very cool sound. It's really trippy. I've always been attracted to it. So I just learned that and started. All right, the last note is. So I would start, and that's where I recorded that. Okay, and then you put them. There's a way that you can flip tape and perform kind of like backwards. It's a little complicated, but I just kept doing it until I got it right. You know. So here's going to be some sort of song. Where's it going? Searching. Searching for. That was my verse idea, okay, which the melody would go along with it, and then all of a sudden if you take it down a whole step, that's I Walk Alone. Right, you hear it now? Okay. So, that's kind of weird how that all happened, but all of a sudden it was like, okay, he didn't like that song, but he liked my verse, and the verse will become I Walk Alone, okay? So on the same DAT tape, if you hear a little bit like kind of sounds, it's just digital distortion. The DAT machine that I recorded on sometimes, they don't have tracking on DAT machines, you know, but that's what it is, kind of. It's just not reading it right. It's an ugly sound, that digital distortion. So let me just show you a couple of the sections how I pieced it together. You know the whole bridge is backwards in the song, which was another idea that I had that I thought was interesting. But let me try to find it. And this entire tape just kept having the development for me of the song. Trouble with the numbers on this DAT machine, so I don't know where I am, but what I'm showing you is the pieces of the demo, basically, that I was doing. I don't have a number for it. This could be like an early mix of the song, my demo, before I started getting creative with the backward stuff. This backward cymbal there, that was cool. That's what that is. Kurt playing a drum machine, but it sounds a lot like whatever. He copied Eric's from the demo we did, you know. Here comes the big D chord. Some of the structure is the same, but this next section I wanted to change into the original idea that I had, which was and that's where I did a backward solo over that, which kind of has that kind of weird sound to it. Okay. Now that didn't have a true backwards bridge, which was the other thing. I knew where I got the ideas for it, but let me show you what the bridge sounds like forward. If I can find it on this. I'm hoping I can. But I think you're getting the sense that I actually did a lot of the pre-production. You know, the band did a version of it, and then I kind of copied it, and then created sections, and then when we went in the studio, I mean, I basically knew exactly what had to be done. And it was a lot of work. The only tricky part was obviously this backward stuff, taking a whole bridge and actually having it reversed, figuring it out from reverse. Let me show you what it sounds like. See where I am. It's might be hard to find without the numbers. Drum machine, the parts, read over them on. Alright, this might be it, we'll see. Technology. Backwards guitar there though, right? And cymbal. Okay, this is number 9. Okay. And here's that section when I stopped the tape that I was trying to do. Different from the chorus. used to do the chorus, but it didn't work. So I just had that little section, and I think I recreated it. Okay, so that was the... That was an imitation of Eric's drum thing. I got the bridge forward coming up. I think this is it. This is what the bridge actually sounded like, kind of, before I decided to figure out how to record it backwards. Okay. Come on. Beginning. Backwards. I got it right before this. It's not reading my index numbers. You know. Bear with me a second. It sounds totally different forward. So I got the chords from there. I thought I had a version where I'm just showing the, you know, how I got the chords. But originally it was, the last chord is the first chord, okay? And then, it's really hard to explain. Now I'm like completely frazzled that the thing won't find what I'm trying to find. But you know the little 4-tracks that have been very popular for a long time, you know, that has a cassette in it, and you're going across, of course, in one direction. Track 1 and 2 of any stereo mix is the first side, and then of course you flip a tape to get the other side. So on those 4 tracks, what's cool about them is 3 and 4 is the other side of the tape. If you bring up those channels on a regular cassette, you're going to hear the music on the other side backwards, which is kind of cool. So I was using it in that way to figure out what I'm trying to, you know, accomplish. And I remember the bridge just being kind of ordinary. You know, it had nice chords. And then I actually edited a version of it and wound up with that. Now the riff, you know, it starts off with a big riff. This one. Now Gene wrote actually for the ending. That other riff is that riff backwards. You see what I mean? And it's kind of weird. I don't know. Again, not everybody has those kind of tape recorders that you can like listen to something backwards. There's a lot of sophisticated gear out there actually that does it also. But a good riff actually sometimes sounds just as good backwards, even though it's got a whole other thing to it. You know. So that's where I came up with the idea to go. So I never actually wrote the riff. I just took Gene's riff and turned it into a backwards thing, you know what I mean? And the other sections of that part just sounded very, I don't know, it became more Queen-like almost, more majestic by doing it. And the way the guitars were going around it, you know. So it kind of all came together, and then of course the ending going back to the regular riff. And soloing over that. So point being, there's no rules. You gotta go with whatever you want, you know. If something's bothering you, you don't think it's as good as it can be, you know, you can work on it, you know, and just keep trying to make it better. And on I Walk Alone, that was my idea, you know, I wasn't going to let go of it. And I was just really glad I obviously got a chorus. And let me play you the actual demo. It's pretty funny, different words, you know. This was my funny version. And some of the sections still changed a little bit from the version that you're familiar with. I think I detuned it a little bit because I wasn't that comfortable singing it, I don't know. I'll play along with it. Let's see what this is. I do have the real thing with the backing track. You heard some digital distortion. Pretty, isn't it? Like space effects. I guess I tuned it down just because, I don't know why I didn't. Because I was really shy about singing it. So hopefully it doesn't sound that much different, really. I got to tune up, so hold on. That is right. Get the idea. Not that different, right? A little better. Everything I dreamed of, and I don't know that I want everything I dreamed of. Interesting as possible, and the song was so different to begin with. I kind of figured that I didn't have anything to lose, just go for it. Let me just do the ending solo. Maybe the end was normal. So I hope you can get a sense of what I was trying to do in that song. And obviously there's the middle solo. There's actually 3 solos in the song, you think about it. Another unusual thing. The body solo, which was over the backward section. That's forward though. I did play it forward, okay. The lead. And then the next section, okay, catch it. And then the next section was backwards, okay, which is kind of cool. And then the outro was actually forward again and doubled. You'll hear that. There's actually some harmony at the ending on the record. And I think the interesting thing is that I'm trying to do it all live now, obviously with no backwards opportunity. But it seems to work when I got Brent to learn it, and then of course when I rehearsed just last week for Eric and I to be able to do this song, he caught on really quickly as to what it was. Okay, so again, a kind of unusual song, and just thought I'd give you a sense of how you can take different sections from another idea you have. Maybe that's the missing part that you were looking for. It's important to collaborate. As some of you know, if you're writing, you need to work with other people. It's good to jam with other people also. It's playing with people better than you are really going to help too. If you got that opportunity to use that, I think it's going to feel really cool to, how'd you do that? And the guy's right there, and he can kind of show you. And even if you don't do it exactly the same, you get a sense of some of the other possibilities that are out there, so what to explore. And I'm always learning things from people, still. So they might look at me and go, well, how'd you do that, or what's that all about? But that's cool, you just want to keep growing and learning, All right, so before we wrap it up, I just want to spend a few minutes obviously answering some questions from you guys about, it could be about playing, I don't care if it's about the band or just my music experiences, nothing political, please. So, anybody got something to ask? Come on. Absolutely nothing, dude. The chance of a lifetime to sit here with me. Oh, I don't know how okay, yeah, Andrew, all right, there you go.
Are you still playing ESP signature?
Good question, yes. Yeah, I was really proud. I've worked with this one guitar company, ESP, which obviously Eric borrowed for the name of his Eric Singer project, ironically enough. But I know they're not really widely distributed in Australia, understandably. It's not a real big company. For a while they were fairly big. They are made in Japan. And, I know the people there, and they've treated me really well. And when they used to ask me, want to do a signature model, I didn't know what to say. I didn't really know what to, And then finally I realized, why don't I take everything that I like in a guitar and do something a little different though? And ESP didn't have any, they don't carry a lot of Gibson style guitars, and I grew up on an SG, and everyone knows, I'm a big Gibson fan too. They see me with Les Pauls and Explorer shapes and stuff like that. So I took the vibe of an SG, which is a real cool guitar, and I used to also play BC Rich's a lot. And you'll see me on the cover of Carnival of Souls holding a BC Rich, which I used in the studio. It's a great guitar. And I just wound up combining the elements of those two guitars and came up kind of my own shape. It's kind of like an oversized SG, So on tour with Union and in the studio, quite a few of the solos on my Union record is that guitar, and the entire, one half of the entire live record is my signature model. And when you hear I'm playing a Strat, it's obviously my ESP Strat, which has you'll see me playing tonight, a humbucker and 2 single coils and a Floyd Rose. So there's times that obviously in the studio I use Les Pauls, and I've used other kind of guitars, even Rego Fenders or Rickenbacker or whatever works, But I'm real happy with that guitar. It came out cool, and I have a few of them. And I know some people have bought them in America where they can find them a lot easier just because they dug it. They don't know exactly who I am. They're not necessarily a Kiss fan or a Bruce fan. They go like, this is a cool guitar, So that was that I'm really flattered about, because I obviously put something together a little bit unique enough that someone would want to buy it. Usually people buy signature models feeling like, well, they dig that guitar player and they want to get that sound, So it definitely covers the basis for me, so I was really pleased about that. Yeah?
When you write songs, Bruce, is it both the words, do you get the lyrics before the music itself?
That's a good question about lyrics and music, and oddly enough, I haven't until recently really cared that much about lyrics. Although, like, let's say "Hell or High Water," that was like, you know, it was an expression I heard, and I went, hey, that could be a great title for a song. So, you know, me and Gene are working on something called "Come Hell or High Water." So sometimes it could be a lyric thing, and more often than not for me, it's music. Although, just recently I've been writing with some thoughts come in my head, and some idea, or I come up with an idea of a title, and next thing I know, I'm hearing some words or some imagery of lyrics, and they're almost dictating the music a little bit. But in general, because I'm primarily such a, so comfortable on guitar, it's usually coming from riffs and everything like that. Again, I don't think there's supposed to be one right way, and anyone's going to tell you the right way to write a song, they're out of their minds, you know. Just be fortunate you get a great idea, and if you have a good couple of lines that make sense, you know, and then you can find a good melody or some chords that go with it, that's great. And then obviously if you got some great chord changes that need some lyrics, you know, go for it. You know, it's just figure out what fits. I think the other important thing, though, is make sure that the lyrics fit the kind of song it is. And the same thing that if you're writing a love song, you're not going to have necessarily, you know, like a, you know, well, maybe you would. Maybe someone would. An angry love song, okay? But just make that make sense, too, you know. Okay, who's next? Yeah.
Is it possible you coming back next year with Union?
I'd love to be here again in '99 with Union. We're looking into that. That would be really cool. This one was kind of like, it was almost going to be Union, but actually because Eric was over here already with the Brian May tour, and I can't tell you how expensive it is to fly, and you know, actually you're in your good season now, okay, so it's the airfare is quite high from America, and it just made a lot of sense for us to promote the ESP record and come over, and everyone will get to see John perform, and he's a very talented guy. And if you're not familiar enough with Union, you know, it was going to be available at the you know, we're selling it at the gigs as well, along with the ESP stuff. So I'm hoping we can come over. I just don't know when, and we're going to try to work that out some point for next year. And a lot of people have asked, and I appreciate that. I really do. If there was a way of doing both, I would too. But it's like I said, it's a lot of work just getting any of us over here. You know. People used to ask why didn't Kiss come down here more often too, and then when I realized what a expense it is, especially if you're going to do an arena tour with all the effects and everything that you expect from Kiss, it's just very expensive. And just on the level that my band's at, it's also extremely expensive. It's remarkable how much it costs to fly people, put them up in hotels, get the gear, and you know, have a crew and a PA and a club rental and transportation. You think about it. So, you know, when you're disappointed that you haven't seen it, it's not because the band doesn't want to go. You know, it's just like, okay, well, who's going to take the risk, and who might lose money, who might make money, but it's very hard. It's a really difficult thing to coordinate, you know, and, you know, the people that brought us over, Paul, you know, he's doing a great job, but every day there's like something crazy goes on, like getting lost in Sydney for 2 hours, you know. It's just, that's life, you know. Yeah, who else? Okay, nobody else. All right. Okay. Oh yeah, Mr. Brisbane, yeah, Don.
Have you ever thought of really getting into on your albums with acoustic guitar?
Did I ever what? I'm sorry.
Even with Union, using like a song with an acoustic.
Oh, using an acoustic? Well, on the Union record, there's a couple acoustic things.
More upfront. There's an upfront instrument. Like, I know, like a lot of people like my band really got off on that Unplugged album.
Right.
Actually doing lead stuff like that on.
Yeah, but
Well, Robin's, yeah.
Songs are totally different feel.
Yeah, no, it does.
I think it's very. I've just found lately it seems a very neglected guitar with rock.
Right.
Everyone seems to think it's like a fake music.
Well, to me, I mean, the Union record has 2 songs that feature the acoustic a lot. October Morning Wind and Robin's song especially, which had a lot of fun doing.
Which actually is that live, though?
We did. The first tour that Union did in America, which we didn't kind of go out properly. We were just the word is logistics, you know, how are you going to coordinate it and what makes sense. And we were really shooting for the moon, trying to do everything and go, and it really kind of hurt, you know, because we really couldn't do everything we wanted to do as a new band. And part of the show was an acoustic set, okay? And just the switchover was kind of awkward and everything, you know, but we actually played, we used to do Even Beth, which was fun because John likes that song, and October Morning Wind, and on the live record, actually, is you know, you're talking about acoustic again, they wanted the label that is doing that record, which is going to be through Shock again. But the Union Live album has 2 bonus tracks, and one is October Morning Wind done just purely acoustically. And the second song is a Beatles song, You Gotta Hide Your Love Away, which came out really nice. Again, acoustic version, just cut really quickly in the studio. But it's not live in front of anyone, but, you know, done very, like as if you'd see us on stage, like this almost, you know. John and I did a lot of, you guys of course haven't gotten a chance to go to the KISS Expos in America, but I would bring John with me to quite a few of those, and we'd bring our acoustics and play, because we would think, well, what would be the easiest, most affordable way to promote Union? That would be introduce John and me and him play, as opposed to having the whole band, although the whole band did get a chance to play at some KISS conventions. And actually, that's how ESP got started, honestly, where John and I were going to be at a convention in Indianapolis, and Eric was a guest as well, and then Carl was going to be there promoting like Return of the Comet, this other Ace Frehley thing, because, you know, Carl played with Ace. And the next thing I know, we figured, hey, let's go up there and jam. We know these like 4 or 5 songs, let's jam, you know. And then some business people that were there, that were friends with the promoter of that show, were like, these guys should do an album, just cover material. Don't expect them to be a new band, because that's a whole nother approach, what you're going to do. And that's how ESP got spawned, really, just from that, from a convention. But I love acoustic stuff, I do. And actually, when John and I were first writing together, a lot of it was on acoustic, and it was like almost like we were turning into like some acoustic band, you know. And I was like, hey, what about the heavy stuff, you know? Our first demo that we did had Robin's song, October Morning Wind, and another song that we never really put out called Walking in Your Sleep. It's pretty cool. We might do something with it. But it started out on acoustic and everything. And everybody was like, wait a minute, I thought you guys were like rockers, you know what I mean? But we love that stuff too. So I think for that Union album, that was the right amount of balance. I wouldn't put out a Union Unplugged thing. I think it was bold enough doing Union Live. You know, I mean, we've only had 1 record, but the reason behind that too being the fact that you have some KISS songs being performed that you know you'll never see the makeup band do, okay? And the fact that we also did a song by The Scream, John's previous band, which is really cool. Man in the Moon came out really good on the live record. I felt really good about it, because we interplay, we do kind of like what Page and Plant would do, you know, and like sing off each other and play guitar, and that's what we did in that song, so that came out great. And then, of course, as a couple bonus things, acoustic, so that the live record's kind of like pretty aggressive to think about, you know, just doing after 1 album doing a live record, but it's cool. And I don't think like the next Union album will negate an acoustic song. We'll probably do something with it, you know. But we definitely want to do some catchy, crunchy rock, you know. That's what it's all about, you know. So I hope you guys learned something today. I've learned how to get lost in Sydney, okay, and never understood how to find whatever. And if you read Tablature, you can take home the stuff that I gave you there, you know, and check it out. And guys coming to the gig tonight, obviously, it's going to be loose, I promise you that, okay? but it'll be fun. And if all the gear works, we'll really be happy. We had 1 show where the bass amp didn't work, and I got us pretty crazy, you know. But that happens, you know. You gotta have your instruments working. They're all your tools, you know. And you know, I want to thank everybody here. You guys you're not actually the Guitar Factory, though, are you? Or you're the music school belonging to or related to? Not at all?
We're Jam Studio.
Oh, okay, Jam Studios.
Yeah,
okay, I got you.
And teach.
Oh, okay.
About 500 students.
All right. I was misinformed. Sorry to mention that other store.
Yeah, they're around.
Oh, okay. Never mention that store. I got to talk to my friend Paul later. I got confused. Okay, but I want to thank you guys for having me. By the way, ESP, it's funny you mentioned the ESP guitars earlier. They do this kind of thing in Japan. I used to go over there, and they'd have they used to teach how to build guitars, and they used to also have a music school, and I used to go over there quite often. The economy is a lot different in Japan now, and it's so expensive, so now I'll do that when I tour there, which is what I did the last time in '95. But it's kind of cool to have that, so I'm sure that this jam, you know, thing is kind of cool to be able to have. You can get your gear and you can get your lessons, you know, and get it all done in one place. Do you do like a recording workshop stuff too?
We have done a few times.
You have, yeah, because that would be the next level. They're getting pretty popular, those things in America, you know, and besides the GITs and the MITs and teaching you how to use the gear properly, you know, so. I want to thank you for having me, though, and thanks for coming.